she's gonna let you have sex with her. Why did he say it like that? Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for coming back if you've been here before, or hi, welcome if you're new. My name is Mickey. I'm a therapist, and we talk about therapy things on this channel. And today we're talking about something that's a little bit scary because y'all seem to really enjoy the video that we made about terrible alpha male dating advice. And unfortunately for me, my algorithm is ruined. You're welcome, by the way, for really taking one for the team, because my algorithm keeps confronting me with terrible alpha male advice, a lot of which actually is sexual in nature. So I'm really grieved by the existence of this advice, and now it's your problem. So we're talking about terrible alpha male dating advice today, but like sexy sex edition. That's it. Let's get into the video. Oh, also, if you're new here, hi, thanks for coming. You should subscribe because we do fun stuff. Same deal as before. I'm going to try to censor these to the best of my ability. I'm not interested in leveraging my audience or my platform. Please don't go try to find these people. We're creating a safe space here for us to talk about this bad advice, but don't go find these people, and I am going to censor them to whatever degree I'm able to. But this video is about how to lead correctly. So
bend over, play with your, get on your knees, come over here. Do this, do that, get in that position, get in this position, spread your arm cheeks, tell me your daddy's good little girl. Whatever it is, these are all great examples, by the way, of just leading her and teasing her. Like I said, there's two things. Takes your focus away from you and put your focus onto her, and it taps into that masculine primal energy, that leading dominant energy. That's where you want to be, especially if you're feeling nervous or anxious beforehand. It's gonna make you feel more confident, you're gonna feel more in charge, ready to play, and she's gonna enjoy it.
Hello? Okay. There's so many things that are wrong with this. First of all, what happened to hello or like, hi, how are you? Just for us to start the video this way is off-putting. On top of that, I want to address the thing that he said at the end there, which in my opinion is the most egregious. If you're nervous, this is like a good way to circumvent being nervous. Ooh, no. You'll notice as we move through this advice, a lot of this advice is steeped in this, like, I mean, it's misogyny, obviously, but there's also an energy of like, this is a way for you to put on a show and like pretend to be something that you're not in order to combat essentially an insecurity, right? Like this advice especially is aimed at folks who feel insecure, who feel uncomfortable, who feel a lack of experience. And that therefore that must mean something about them, right? Either being like undesirable or being like not good in bed or whatever. And so a lot of this advice is aimed at these people who are in actually kind of like a vulnerable place, and teaches these people that the way to deal with insecurity, nervousness, fear, shame, or like self-judgment is to become violent, essentially, is to be aggressive, right? This is such a problematic fucking attitude to perpetuate, and especially again amongst vulnerable people. I do really want to address that, like, it's normal, right? It's human. It's very understandable to have some level of like nerves or anxiety about having sex generally, but especially sex with a new partner. And I do think it's also helpful to acknowledge that, like, especially in a heteronormative, like heterosexual context, there is actually a lot of pressure that gets heaped upon folks with penises and AMAB people generally, really, especially in this very heteronormative lens where we conceptualize sex to be the act of penetration, right? And that there are certain ways that that's supposed to look. It's very normal for folks like that to feel that sense of nervousness, right? But I want to encourage people, rather than taking dog shit advice like this, that again is rooted in misogyny and also like inherently of violence, right? Like we're teaching people that if you're nervous, just get violent and therefore you won't be nervous. Like don't do that. Instead of doing that, I really want to encourage people to lead with like an authenticity and like genuineness, that like it's okay to be nervous, right? This is why my favorite advice about sex and intimacy generally, that I think we should really just be like destigmatizing, is that it's normal and okay for people to just like acknowledge that sex is sometimes like silly and like awkward, right? Especially the first time that you're intimate with someone. There's going to be like some level of fumbling because you don't really know how your bodies fit together yet. You don't know what somebody's used to yet. And so sometimes there's just like a lot of elbows, like it's very normal. And I personally like am just a fan of destigmatizing this and normalizing like that being like a silly little moment that we just like either giggle or have like a little like knowing smile with one another. and that's okay, right? Sex is not meant to be a performance. It's not meant to be something that mirrors what we see in romance books or novels or erotica or porn. It's meant to be a vehicle for folks to connect with one another, right? Ultimately, it's just one of many ways that we can develop intimacy and connection in a relationship, even if that's for a short time, right? Even if that's just for one night. This shared connection from human to human serves the purpose of creating a feeling of mutual safety, first of all, which if violence or roughness is part of your sexual context, we absolutely need to have a conversation about consent and boundaries, and that everybody's on the same page with wanting to incorporate that in a very specific way within these very specific bounds. Besides the point that I'm making is that this is meant to be a vehicle for mutual connection, not a way that folks can, first of all, circumvent their self-esteem issues, because also there's like a whole world of like work and therapy and self-help and all of this stuff that can help to deal with that. But also, again, that sex is meant to be a thing that's like a connecting thing, not a thing that serves the purpose of uplifting our fantasies about violence against women, first of all, but also about what we think sex ought to be rather than what sex is actually, you know? That's a really good point, actually. I don't know if you heard Aaron in the background, but he said he loves that, like, this is always like men complain about having to feel the need to perform during sex, but then also simultaneously uplift advice like this, right? That like this is very much a way that misogyny and the patriarchy hurts everybody, and also the people who have the power in this situation to unseat and subvert that expectation are just doing the opposite, and like that's nonsensical and not fair, right? It's bad for everybody, particularly the people who are on the receiving end of the misogyny. But again, if this is something that bothers you, even if you are an AMAB person, it's helpful to unlearn this. I mean, really, that's mostly cis men, but like it's helpful to unlearn this and then also seek to engage in like opposite action so that we can, again, like subvert this expectation. Speaking of unlearning our societal expectations around sex, you might be surprised to know, like I was, that May is actually International Masturbation Month. So I am so excited to talk to you guys about Beducated this month. For those of you who don't know, we have sponsored with Beducated before, but Beducated is an online platform that is dedicated to all things sex and relationship learning. They have over 100 courses with the industry top experts to teach you actually reliable information about sex and intimacy and relationships, and they cover topics all the way from self-pleasure all the way up to kink and non-monogamy and like everything in between. When I tell you that there is something on the platform for everybody, I'm being so serious, especially as a person who like regularly uses the platform. I'm so encouraged to find that there is constantly new stuff on the platform. Speaking of which, there is a new course that I have been looking through, which is called Guided Masturbation. It actually went up on the 16th of this month, and it is so good, especially for those of us who grew up in a very repressive environment that taught us backwards things about our bodies and about masturbation. Especially, it's just been really healing for me to look through a course that destigmatizes things and helps to make the unspoken spoken. And I think that y'all will really enjoy the resource too. So go click that link in the description, because Beducated is running a special 50% off of the yearly pass for the entire month of Masturbation May, which we love. Beducated has a 24-hour free trial, so you can test the waters and see how you like it. And they also have a 14-day money-back guarantee. So genuinely, there's no risk involved. And it's truly is such a cool platform that I think y'all will really love. So go click that link, use code Mickey Atkins at checkout to get 50% off of the yearly pass. Show Beducated some love for showing me some love, and show yourself some love for Masturbation May. Thank you again to Beducated for sponsoring this week's video. Let's go ahead and hop back in. This says 4 dating tips that every man must know.
These are 4 dating tips every man must know. Let's go. 1, a woman will say one thing, but their actions will say something else. Women operate backwards, right? They like what they don't like, and they don't like what they like. A female will tell you, oh, I want to see you every day. I want to be up under your skin. But the moment you give her all your time and attention, she's losing the tracks for you, bro. And then 3 months down the line, oh, I need a break. I can't do this. But you're doing everything she wanted, right? Come on, bro. They don't like fucking nice guys. They all say, oh, I want good morning texts. I want flowers sent to me. They don't like this shit. They like the aesthetic of it, bro. So they can screenshot it and post it on Twitter or Instagram to impress their fucking friends. Like, bro, any girl I deal with or yeah with, I don't do none of this shit, bro. And I always ask them, why me out of all the guys in your phone? Oh, I don't know, you're different. I don't compliment them. I don't see them every day. I don't text them all day. But apparently this works to get girls, you know what I'm saying? But I'm the dude smashing behind the scenes while you doing all this shit and she leave me on read and delivered.
Really quick, before we get to the next 2 tips, I just want to be super clear that this attitude that like women don't like nice guys and that, you know, you should neg people to get them to like you, this is bad advice. Like, besides the fact that this is like not actually very effective fucking advice, especially at developing healthy relationships, right? I can't speak to the success rate personally for things like negging and treating people like shit, because it's not something that I personally incorporate into my fucking dating life. So I don't necessarily have anecdotal data for you about that specifically, but I can very much vouch for the fact as a clinician that even if this does work, right, this is not going to lend itself to a healthy relationship. This is not the way that we pave a foundation for a relationship where we feel mutual respect and connection and safety and stability. Ideally, when we're talking about a long-term healthy relationship where we both respect one another, we feel safe with one another, we love one another, this is not the way. I also want to be clear too that this attitude of like, oh, people tell me that I'm different and that it really works for me, not complimenting people, not treating people well. Again, even if this does work, all you're doing is actually just exploiting somebody's trauma and attachment wounds, and that's not healthy, first of all. But also, this isn't a flex, right? Like, you're just admitting on camera to abusing people and to fingering people's open emotional wounds for your own personal gain, which is not cute, right? Like, this isn't cute. This isn't a flex. That doesn't make you cool or interesting or better or alpha. All this is you admitting to being a fucking asshole on camera. Like, this is so fucking not okay. And like, also too, again, we talked about this in the last video, so much of this is like saying the quiet part out loud about how a lot of these men just fucking hate women, right? They hate women, they hate femininity, they are genuinely just repulsed by the idea of people who aren't masculine, and a lot of this oftentimes is rooted in a deep, deep, deep insecurity and self-loathing, which I can have like empathy and compassion for on a human to human level, but that doesn't excuse behavior like this, right? That doesn't excuse getting on the internet and uplifting and encouraging others to abuse people, to manipulate people, to treat people poorly, and especially to exploit their deepest, darkest wounds for your own personal gain. It's fucking gross, it's disgusting, and it's also not going to lead to the place that you think it's going to lead.
Two, a female cannot love you, bro. She love how you make her feel in the moment. Y'all men really believe in love. There's two types of men in life: men that believe in love and men that understand females. Men like me.
This is like so obviously fucking projection. Like, you struggle to feel a genuine care and compassion for the people that you're dating, so you assume that other people struggle to feel that. That's not true. That's not true at all.
Like me to understand females, bro, we take things day by day with them, bro. We don't think too far ahead. We don't think about marriage. That's all Disney fairy tale bullshit. But if you believe in love, you're going to keep getting your little heartbroken or divorced. Two, always put your purpose first. When you chase your purpose, she's going to chase you. But if you put her first, she's going to put you second and leave your ass. You know what I'm saying? Treat a female like a celebrity, and she's going to treat you like a fucking fan. You always want your girlfriend chasing your validation, right? If your girl's not asking for more time and attention from you, that means you're giving her too much time and attention. Get out the house, go to the gym, work more hours, do something, bro. Three.
This is literally a masterclass about how to aggravate somebody's attachment wounds, which again, even if this does work, which to be clear, this is damaging and traumatic or like trauma-inducing behavior to be on the receiving end of, regardless of how like self-actualized or well-adjusted you are. But for folks who are able to spot manipulation, this is not going to lead to a long-term relationship at all, because they're going to excuse themselves before we get to this point. But also, again, even if this does work, all this person is admitting to doing is successfully manipulating and traumatizing people who are vulnerable, which is so not a flex. Like, this is...
Stop being so available. Every time she call, you don't got to answer. Every time she texts, you don't got to reply so fast. Reply an hour later if you're fucking busy, bro.
Oh my
bro,
God.
Give her time to think about you. Like, damn, what is she doing? Give her that anxiety. Is he cheating on me? Is he talking to other girls? Why isn't he simping over me? It's going to drive her crazy, bro. Females hate fucking simps with a passion.
I know that I'm stopping this video every 5 seconds, but I also just want to be clear. First of all, anybody who uses the word females, red flag for me. Like, when we talk about spotting people who are manipulators or who have problematic patterns in relationships, this type of language is like number one for me, especially because it's dehumanizing, right? Like, by the very nature of the fact that we're referring to people with a term that's often used to describe animals, we are literally dehumanizing people. On top of that, this is not true, right? Like, I just want to be super clear that, like, do some people struggle with attachment wounds and things like that? Yes, obviously. Some people are going to have a difficulty with like receiving, right? I've talked about this at length on the channel, that like I am not good at receiving like gifts and like praise, like compliments especially. I struggle with that. It's like a thing for me, but that doesn't mean that I enjoy being treated like shit, right? People who struggle with feelings of like a lack of self-worth or things like that don't enjoy being treated like shit. They may find themselves in this pattern cyclically, oftentimes because like in childhood, your primary caregivers were not stable or consistent folks. And so that caused you to feel this like sense of lack in your self-worth, right? But again, no one fucking enjoys being traumatized. And I just want to be super clear that this advice of like, oh, women love this, like women will continue to come back to you because they love being treated like shit, is not fucking true. No one fucking enjoys being traumatized. And especially if you're a person who's found yourself on the receiving end of behavior like this in past relationships because you were traumatized, please know that this is not a statement about you, right? This is not you being a terrible person. No one participates in their own traumatization. And especially like language like this is very victim blamey. And like, I don't fuck with it.
4, when you're in the talking stage with a girl, never cut off all your options for one girl. You're not going to hell for talking to multiple girls. There's no rule in the Bible or the Quran that says, oh, if you talk to other girls, you're going to hell. Never put all of your eggs in one basket. Follow me for more advice. You might never see me again.
No, don't follow this person for any more advice. Don't take any of this fucking advice. Again, I also want to point out that so much of this is a very blatant projection of like, I feel insecure, I feel unstable, I feel unlovable in relationships. And so instead of doing the vulnerable and scary thing and fully committing to a person, being honest about my feelings for this person, choosing to put all of my cards on the table face up and tell somebody, I love you, I really care about you, I want to invest in this relationship, which means then that you're vulnerable to being rejected and being left. This person is consistently putting themselves in the position to leave others rather than being the one who is in the position to be left, which on its face seems like a good strategy, I guess, if you're afraid of being rejected. But the problem with this is that it robs you of real connection and vulnerability, right? These moments where we're truly vulnerable with someone, where we're really being open and honest, these are the moments that real love and connection and intimacy are formed because there's a real trust in that, right? I talk to my clients all the time about how vulnerability is essentially showing somebody your guts, right? Like you're literally putting your guts on the table for somebody to view. And when they choose to accept you in that moment, there's such a great intimacy that happens there because it's not conditional. It's not based on the performance or the, what we think are like the lovable or acceptable parts of ourselves. Your partner is unconditionally accepting you, knowing that there are messy parts of you, that there are like dirty parts of you or broken parts of you, right? Like I don't love that language, but like you get the point that I'm making. And that is where true intimacy and connection and vulnerability and safety comes because you know definitively, even after seeing your baggage or your trauma or your problematic traits or you on an irritable day or you after you shit your pants, your partner still loves you, your partner still cares about you, and your partner still wants to be with you, right? There is an unconditional acceptance that comes from that. And yes, it's risky, right? Sometimes that means we're going to get rejected and we're going to be treated like shit by people who don't deserve you, by the way. Fuck those people who treat you like shit. But that's part of developing a safe and healthy relationship is being willing to go there and being willing to engage when it makes sense, obviously, when it's safe for us to do that. You get it. But choosing to keep yourself in this place where you're just never investing, you're never vulnerable, it robs you of that true intimacy and connection, and that's not enjoyable. You may tell yourself that you get off on the power dynamic of not being vulnerable with people and that them chasing you makes you feel good, and that's not true. That's not how human connection works. That's not how real fucking healthy, intimate relationships actually function. Okay, let's talk about this video. The caption on this says, guaranteed 30-second squirt. I told you guys, my algorithm is tormenting me, and so now it's going to torment you. You're welcome.
This is where the G-spot is. The clitoris is like back here somewhere. Up here is the G-spot. I'm inserting here with 2 hands and I'm putting pressure like this. She's laying here, her head's up here, the nut's down here, my hand's here, bang, and I'm pushing up like this. But I'm doing it a lot faster. It'll be something like this. That shouldn't take you more than like 20, 30 seconds. Women who have never squirted before, you'll get this.
I fucking hate advice like this. First of all, because why is he doing it so violently? As a person with a vagina, please never stick your hand in somebody and yank it around like you're trying to start a faulty vehicle. Like, this is a terrifying imagery. And just like, listen, I'm not saying that some people aren't into this. I'm sure some people probably are. But I do want to be super clear that like, A, this advice is problematic because we're applying a no nuance piece of advice just across a whole ass population of people based on their anatomy alone, which is crazy. Like, this is a wild ass assumption to make and not true. Also, like, this is not going to be true in every case, if not for most people, I would say. But besides that fact, this is also assigning an intention to an activity that's based on you, right? This is not about pleasure. This is not about enjoyment. This is about you getting to tell your buddies at work that you made your girlfriend squirt, which this is why it's like an epidemic of people with vulvas faking orgasms, because there is so much pressure that gets placed on people that if you're not orgasming, it means that your partner's not good in bed, which is not helpful. Besides the fact that orgasm shouldn't be the goal of sex explicitly every time for every person, it's also an unfair expectation to put on a person because ultimately what you're communicating is that I will only feel satisfied if I have these external markers from you. And so therefore your pleasure is a way for me to feel good about myself and for me to uplift my own ego. That's not about your partner then. So like, first of all, that's not helpful. That's a lot of pressure. And that might be counterintuitive in somebody actually being able to orgasm. But on top of that, you're treating your partner like a vending machine. Their orgasm is a way for you to uplift your ego, which fucking sucks. Okay, I also want to talk about the actual squirting advice in this video, because I want to be clear that squirting is a thing that some people find enjoyable, some people will not find enjoyable, some people will be able to do, some people will not be able to do. There's actually really useful advice about how to do that, or what anatomy structures we need to pay attention to in order to achieve that goal if it's something that matters to you. But I want to be super clear that, first of all, this is not a mandatory thing, right? Like, this expectation that like you're especially kinky in bed if you want to squirt, or that you do squirt, like, unhelpful. Also very much a byproduct of the myths that porn perpetuates about folks with vaginas. Neither here nor there. But I also want to be clear that the way that folks will achieve this particular outcome in regards to sex is vastly different, depending on somebody's personal likes and preferences, depending on somebody's particular anatomy, right? Also, I just want to talk about the G-spot really quickly. There's a whole world of useful education, by the way, about squirting and G-spots and like different types of orgasms on Beducated. I know I talk about it a lot. The courses are genuinely really useful. There's a whole ass course about how to squirt if that's something that you're interested in, with reliable information from an expert, by the way. So link in description, go check it out. Regardless, I want to talk about the G-spot because I think this is a thing that's like criminally under-discussed personally. What we as a community, like a collective, refer to as the G-spot colloquially is actually just part of the clitoris, right? We didn't actually really officially study or discover factual information about the clitoris until like way fucking later than the rest of our research about sex and orgasm, especially as it relates to AMAB anatomy. And so I want to be super clear that the clitoris, as we typically conceptualize it in terms of its external presentation, is like literally 1% of its entire anatomy. I'll put a diagram on the screen right now of what the actual clitoris is, but a lot of what folks refer to is as the G-spot is actually just part of your clitoris that can be stimulated by touching the vaginal wall from the inside, and that you're stimulating like flange. I'll put a diagram on the screen so you know what I'm talking about. But this, like stimulating this particular piece of your anatomy is so very much dependent on like a bunch of different factors. For those of you who don't know, vaginas are inherently elastic things. Obviously, some people use them to push humans out of there, so it's good that they're elastic. But depending on how aroused you are, how much vaginal lubrication there is, what part of your cycle that you're currently in, if you're menstruating at all of these things will impact like the thickness of your vaginal wall, the placement of your cervix, for example, and how much access we have to parts of the vaginal wall that you can reach other parts of the clitoris. Like, vaginas are not a thing that are static, is the point that I'm making. There's lots of anatomy that changes and moves and will shift based on like many factors. And so this blanket advice of just like stick your fingers in there and wave your hand around and you'll make this person squirt in 25 to 30 seconds or less is so not helpful. It's not true. And again, problematic goal to try to achieve from the outset from the perspective that this person is orienting it. And also this idea that like you can just like magically push a button that will make somebody come in 30 seconds is not true, right? Like, the truth about orgasm, especially through clitoral stimulation, is that it's going to take time, varying amounts of time depending on the circumstances, your anatomy, what you're into, all of the things, right? And that's okay, right? Like, there is also a lot of pressure that folks with vaginas get put under to come faster because it's too complicated and you're taking too long and my hand is tired, my mouth is tired. I don't care. Fuck that. Fuck all of that expectation. Take as long as you fucking need to. Like, the truth, especially about like heteronormative sex, is that it's structured very much around this idea that when the partner with a penis ejaculates, that we're done, right? Ew, fuck that. That's not helpful. That's not useful. There's a shitty fucking expectation. And again, it heaps a lot of pressure on folks who have vaginas to like come faster. And that's not fair, right? You are entitled to however much time or stimulation or like set of circumstances that you need to feel like the pleasure that you're looking for. Again, not everybody needs to orgasm every time, but you get what I'm saying. Moving on. Okay, this person actually has a bunch of terrible advice. So let's watch this video also.
Most of them have been spanked. Women are very similar. For the most part, most women tend to respond to the exact same things done to them physically. All women tend to be very, very similar in this regard. There's patterns you start to recognize once you've been with a certain number of women.
Ew. Fucking ew. Remember when I told you that this person has a bunch of fucking terrible advice? This whole account is filled with fucking awful ass fucking advice. From the top, let's be clear that this idea that you can just bank on people being similar because they have the same anatomy, not helpful, right? Even people who have very similar anatomy might need very different things. Even, in fact, the very same person might need incredibly different things from one sexual encounter to another because they're people. Because people need different things, and because sex is an elastic and ever-changing thing. It's not a math equation. It's not a science experiment. People and their sensuality, their sexuality, their sense of intimacy is all going to vary and change and fluctuate throughout your lifespan, but just from day to day, right? From sexual encounter to sexual encounter, people want and need different things. We talked about this in the Q&A video, but in my opinion, it is so much more useful to be a communicative partner, a partner who's curious about your partner or partners, than it is to be somebody with lots and lots of sexual experience. In some ways, having lots and lots of sexual experience can actually be kind of a bad thing, because this attitude, whatever, you get what I'm saying, can actually be kind of a hindrance to people in the sense that like, oh, I've had sex with lots of people and so therefore I know everything that there is to know about sex. And like, that's not true. Each individual time that you have sex with a partner, or a new partner especially, there are going to be new things that come up, and it's ideally, generally speaking, going to be a better practice to be curious and to be communicative about what your partner needs specifically in this moment to find pleasure or orgasm or whatever it is that we're striving for in this moment, right? Connection, feeling seen, feeling loved, feeling valued, whatever, right? It's going to serve your purpose so much more effectively to just be honest about, first of all, what our own wants and needs are, right? But also to be clear that like, hey, maybe I'm not sure, right? Or like, especially in the new part of a relationship where we're starting to understand each other, we're trying to learn about each other sexually, ask the question, right? Does this feel nice? Do you like this? What are you into, right? Especially like ideally before we get into the bedroom, having a conversation about people's likes and dislikes, past positive or negative experiences sexually. All of this is going to add up to the picture of you being a better partner rather than just taking blanket advice from strangers on the internet, especially because this is not true. The idea that like all women like having their hair pulled, all women like being spanked, like just, it's reductive, it's gross, and it's also so dangerous. Again, this is literally just an excuse to perpetuate violence against women and to perpetuate misogyny under the guise of sex advice, because ultimately what this is framing the idea that all women like being brutalized, right? Which is fucking not true, but also fucking disgusting. Like, this is terrifying that this person is literally out here on the internet talking about how it's okay to be violent and especially to like play out your fantasies about brutalizing women with or without their consent, because some dude on the internet told you that all people like being treated this way, which again is not fucking true, like regardless of what people are into, but especially because we're framing it from this perspective that like all people like it and so therefore you don't need to ask, right? Ew. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody on this channel that consent is paramount when we talk about any amount of physical, intimate, or sexual contact. But especially in this regard, people need to have a very clear and conscientious conversation about what we're into if we're starting to veer into things like kink, or especially things like impact play and other like degradation-based things. It's not that that's not allowed or that that's inherently bad. There's a whole world of kink that can be explored in a consensual manner that can be really pleasurable and fun for lots of different types of people. But if we're not having a conversation clearly outside of the bedroom before we've engaged in any kind of physical contact about our boundaries, about our wants, about our needs, about our limits around these things, fucking terrible sign. Get out of there. Please, please, God, know that you are never being a bore. You're never being a wet blanket or a baby or being choosy or being hard to please. If somebody is trying to pressure you into something or just starts doing something without your consent, please know that you are always, always, always allowed to pull the ripcord at any time, because people who do shit like this are fucking terrifying and dangerous, and also fuck their opinion. Nobody needs to know or care what they think about you drawing a hard line in the sand and removing yourself from a situation that's unsafe for you, because ultimately what we're talking about is somebody assaulting you because they want to play out their misogynistic and brutal fantasies about what they would like to victimize women. Just Ew. Okay, I have one more video to share with you. Let's talk about this.
So I'm going to tell you how to use a woman's own hypergamous nature against them. Realize that a woman will give you a chance if she sees financial potential in you, but you have to sell it in the right way. And you do that by showing her that you have a plan and are determined to accomplish whatever financial goal you have. And the key thing is that you have to convince her that you are close to getting there, because she is not going to date you if she's going to have to wait over 15 years. You always tell her that your side business or whatever you got going on is moving along in the right direction and that you're expecting big things soon. She'll swallow that up and see your financial potential. And because she hopes to be a part of your future, she's going to let you have sex with her. And from there, you can keep...
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is actually terrible and scary advice. I do want to be clear about that. But also, the way that he phrases this sounds like a joke. It sounds like a meme. Please tell me that this is a joke, because it sounds like an SNL skit. Like, this can't be real. Because she sees your financial future. She's gonna let you have sex with her. Why did he say it like that? I think it goes without saying that this is just cuckoo bananas. Crazy town. We are off the deep end with this, especially because essentially what we're talking about is like cosplaying the billionaire mentality so that people will see your financial potential. Also, I'd like to address the fact that this is predicated upon the false belief that women survey men's financial potential as a primary feature of whether or not they want to have sex with someone, which is not true. This is like so incredibly, wholly, completely false that it's like kind of funny. For those of you who are curious or don't know, just to be clear about fact-based information here, folks will look for a variety of factors when making the decision about whether or not they want to be sexual or intimate or in a relationship with someone. But for a lot of AFAB folks or folks who are targeted by misogyny, the very first thing that they're going to look for is safety, right? It's not necessarily about physical attractiveness. It's not necessarily about somebody's financial status or their social status or their upward mobility, right? It has a lot more to do with whether or not we feel safe and valued there, right? And so like people who demonstrate themselves to be misogynistic in nature, who, for example, reduce women in their entirety to a desire to be with a rich partner, probably not meeting that check mark.
Keep her around or move on to the next one. But do keep working on that financial goal or purpose, whatever it may be, while you're seeing that girl. And if it's taking too long and by that time she's getting a hint that you're probably not getting to that
Sorry, getting a what? Getting a what? Getting a hinge? I think you meant hunch. I also want to draw attention to the fact that this is so obviously dehumanizing people. After you have sex with her, you can keep her around or move on to the next one, but keep working on your financial goal. Huh? This has to be a joke. This has to be a joke.
Financial goal quick enough, by that time you've already had sex with her, so you already got what you wanted.
Like, can we just be so clear? Like, it's rare for people to say explicitly that they don't give a shit about women other than as a whole to fuck. But honestly, sometimes it's kind of refreshing to have people just be clear and upfront about the fact that they don't value women, that they don't care about people, that they don't see value in relationship with anybody, which also, I talked about this in the last video. It's wild to me that there are really people on this earth who don't understand how cool and magical it is to be in a relationship with an AFAB person. Like, hello? With women generally, really? Like, just... there's a whole world of wonder out there that these people are missing out on because they're just so obsessed. They're addicted to male validation. So much of the problematic advice that comes out of this niche is because men are more concerned with the validation of other men than they are with their own, like, connection and satisfaction, and especially in a time where people like this are bemoaning the male loneliness epidemic and making TikToks where they're talking about how, like, you know, some of you women are going to have to settle because your expectations about, you know, men are so unrealistic. And like, No, because the other thing that is important to acknowledge here is that folks who are not cis-het men oftentimes have better success in creating very deep and rich and emotionally intimate relationships with people in their life, regardless of whether they're platonic or romantic. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Regardless of whether or not those relationships are platonic or romantic. And so it removes this necessity for romantic relationships, because from the cis-het male perspective, the idea is that you'll only have emotional connectedness with a woman because men refuse to do this with each other sometimes, which is obviously damaging and difficult and part of how the patriarchy hurts everybody. Obviously, this is a thing that we should unlearn. And men who uplift these misogynistic and violent ideals against women are the same people who rob themselves of connection with their friends and their family because they refuse to be vulnerable and to be emotionally intimate and like clear about their feelings. And so therefore they lean on women for this emotional connectedness and also for their sexual gratification, but in a way that dehumanizes them, in a way that reduces them to something less than a person, because they only conceptualize them as being good for these two things. Usually it's just the one thing, but for these two things. And so therefore I don't value you. And like, no wonder people don't want to fucking be in a relationship with you. If you're a person who struggles to find connection, if you're a cis-het man, I don't anticipate that there's a lot of you watching this video, but whatever. If you're a cis-het man who struggles to find connection with folks in relationships, you know, in this case, women, please know that you are so much better served by, first of all, focusing that energy inward, right? And surveying, like, how can I be a safer person? How can I be a healthy person? Not just for the purpose of being in relationship with others, but just for myself generally, because you deserve that. But working on yourself to be a safe person who is kind, who's emotionally expressive, who can communicate effectively, who's not afraid to be honest about your fears or your wants or your needs, and who also is committed to continually unlearning this patriarchal and misogynistic ideal about how women are only existing to meet your needs, is a way fucking better place to start than following any of this fucking shitty red pill alpha male advice that you're ever going to find on the internet. Again, I don't anticipate that anybody who's watching this video is, you know, necessarily needing that advice, but for what it's worth, generally speaking, especially with like wanting to be a better version of ourselves and wanting to find more emotionally enriching and satisfying relationships, the work that we need to do, first of all, is in being safe and healthy for ourselves, again, because we deserve it, and also for the folks we're in relationship with, and also, again, being committed to viewing and valuing the people that we are in relationship with, regardless of whether it's platonic or romantic or sexual in nature, as human beings, first of all, but also people with a whole world of rich and interesting and valuable experiences that we benefit just from witnessing, right? Just from bearing witness to and the privilege of being part of their experience and part of their community, just in being able to share company with those people. That is going to serve you so much better in regards to forming these, again, mutually enriching and connecting relationships than following shitty fucking advice on the internet. So, wow. Let me know if you guys want me to make another one of these videos. I truly am like just continually surprised by, first of all, how bad the advice is, but also how much of it there is. Like, all of these people were different people than last time, and it's all still so bad. So let me know what your guys' thoughts and feelings are in the comments if you guys want me to make another video like this, or if you want me to make a video about something else, let me know. In the meantime, you can like the video if you like the video and subscribe. We do stuff like this, but we also live stream on Fridays and do a podcast episode on Thursdays, so stay for that. Those are fun. And then you can share the video to help the channel grow and to help each other grow, and I will see you guys next Saturday. Okay, bye.